Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday, and welcome to Faith Family Focus. I am Faith Suggs, one of your co-hosts, a former Duke women's basketball graduate, and now CEO of social media and branding of my own company, Brand by Faith. And I just partnered actually with Huron Media, who also does name, image, likeness work with student athletes. So if you know a student athlete, let us know. This wonderful man next to me, though, with the Jets jacket on, is my father, Schaefer Suggs, former NFL player with the New York Jets and the Cincinnati Bengals, and has also served as VP and on the executive board with the Chicago RPFPC, also known as the chapter of the NFLPA. Dad, good morning. How are you? Happy Monday.
Good morning. You almost don't even have to read that anymore. That's pretty good.
I always read it. I got 6 scripts now that the huddle's moving. The huddle is live in air. We had our first episode actually last Wednesday.
Congratulations. That was an outstanding show. I just was just sitting back watching it. I thought it went really well. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
I don't want to steal your thunder, but if you want to continue talking about it, it's okay.
Yeah, good morning, everyone, though. But the huddle, I started my show, the one that's solely hosted by me. And we try to pick great guests to bring to the huddle. We air every Friday at 10:04 a.m. Eastern. Yeah, 9:04 a.m. Central. Right here on this platform, same Facebook, everything, but just a little spin off from Faith Family Focus to give us some different faces here every Friday. But yeah, no, it was a great show. We had Ashley Nicole Moss, Sports Illustrated's newest digital host, the first Black woman to actually become a digital host with Sports Illustrated of her show Laces Out. She also had a couple big promotions this weekend too, which I'll keep everyone posted on. Good morning, everyone. Say hello when you join us. We like to talk back. But Dad, what's going on over there? Tell us about your weekend. I have some pictures here.
Well, as you know, Yale had their first football game against Holy Cross, and one of the traditions is they do the Bulldog Walk, and I got a chance to be there along the side and watching my son walk. Of course, I was yelling out his name. He sucks, and he just kept looking straight ahead. But it was just an amazing weekend. Unfortunately, we came on the low end of the score. We lost with about 38 seconds left in the game with the field goal. Holy Cross, they have not missed a beat. They've had 2 games already, and but I think we will get some momentum. But it was so nice to be at a college football game. It was so nice to see your brother on the football field warming up. Of course, he didn't get a chance to get on the field. He still has to, buy his time, but he'll be ready even if he doesn't get to go. So it was just a really nice. Got a chance to go out to dinner with him, and it was a magical weekend. You know how proud I was, right?
Yeah. Nothing like, well, at the end of the day, this is your son, and your son is playing the sports you play. So I'm seeing a lot of excitement I've never seen. Not bitter about it, but actually pretty cool to watch. But it looked like a lot of fun. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us right now. Say hello. Yeah, it looked like a lot of fun. Again, we were just talking about Schaefer's trip to New Haven this weekend to go see Yale play Holy Cross.
Did you have any other pictures, or you just got the one?
Well, I uploaded maybe 15 photos this morning to our StreamYard. And, if anybody wants to join and see any photos, they're all over Schaefer Suggs' Facebook. Don't worry. And if you guys aren't connected with your host on Facebook, please do so. We share a lot of information about the show there, but please check out about his weekend at Yale. Pretty cool. And at least you got to see a great football game at the end of the day. At least it wasn't a blowout. I know we would have loved a blowout, but it's always fun. We can get a little thrill in there.
Yeah, they went up 14-0. It was.
I saw that.
And I remember you texted me saying, "Are Yale that good, or is Holy Cross?" And right after that text, the tide changed. And,
well, they went to
halftime. It was 14-10 at half, and we just could not. We could not stop. They had a couple big passes, big plays, and a quarterback that was a real strong runner. But again, it was an amazing weekend, and I just can't wait to get back there to see it again.
Yeah. Was there a lot of people there? What would you say it was kind of like as a college football game post?
Well, traditionally you would think in the environment of college football there'd be a lot, but not. It wasn't a big, huge crowd. I don't think Ivy League games, unless it's a Princeton game or Harvard game, probably looking at about 20,000 there. But it was It was a big enough crowd. Holy Cross had a nice, Holy Cross not very far away, so they had a nice attention crowd. But it was a good game. It was a
It
really
was.
good game.
Yeah. Are you feeling the feeling of fall yet over in Chicago? Like, do you feel like it's coming?
4
Because
weeks.
in 2 days, it's the first day of fall.
Right.
And no, I already have my fall colors on and my
I see
fall
that.
colors on. It's time. I already have the little pumpkins around the house. They're not orange. They're blue and white, of course. But
Why are they blue and white, Dave?
because I like to step away from the societal norms of what Halloween is supposed to look like. So I wanted to change it up, make it look pretty. That's me. Not the typical orange and black. You want to be different. So mine are white and teal. We're teal family. If anybody's ever been to our homes. Yeah, it's white, teal, sparkles,
Okay.
different. This weekend I got to go to the Kansas State Fair. Let me talk about that experience. We drove 2 hours to Hutchinson, Kansas. And we got to visit the State Fair. I've been to State Fairs in North Carolina, of course. In Raleigh in the Raleigh Fairgrounds when I was at Duke, but I had never been to Kansas State Fair. So we got to drive 2 hours, got there right when it was a little warm. So we were struggling for a second, got our lemonade and funnel cakes and stuff. But I did get to play the basketball game. And Dad, you have seen me play that basketball game I don't know how many times, and I have never won on those hoops because the hoops and the ball is rigged.
Yeah, the hoops are smaller than the ball.
Hoops are small, and the ball is one of those old-fashioned Spalding balls that bounce 6 feet in the air once you hit it up there. But I got to win my bear.
Oh, there you go.
It was on my first try. Yeah, and then Shane has some sort of humor in him, and he took this picture. And if you can see in the background, another man's bear, my bear. I was so proud of my bear. And then I looked over, and this was my face because I was very confused on why this man was walking around. So many questions about this. Why is he in this golfing outfit? And then why is he I was taking a picture of my bear.
Was that the look of the pants or the look of how big his bear was?
It was the fact that he decided to get in my picture with his big bear. That wasn't nice. That wasn't good bear etiquette. That wasn't good bear etiquette at all. But yeah, we had a great time. I don't know if everybody has seen their state fairs. I don't know what's going on in the rest of the country, but I believe that North Carolina closed up their state fair. But if you get a chance, go do some fall outings with your family. Go get out. We did it all the time as a Suggs family. We saw Halloween. We went to go pumpkins. We did this. We did that. So it's the best time of the year when it's not too cold, not too hot. Make some memories. But Dad, college football is kicking off. We watched some great games. A wonderful game last night for the NFL. The Ravens and the Patrick Mahomes Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is doing stuff nowadays that we don't even know is amazing anymore because he's been doing it for so long. Like the announcers are so immune to his skills. And then Lamar Jackson was just unbelievable as well. You just can't stop him on the foot. It was unbelievable. Great game.
Yeah, it was. It's amazing. It was one of the best football games I've seen. Two amazing quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson was out of his mind. Just really good to see. We've had really great football games. And unfortunately, we don't spend too much time on the Jets. I wore this darker version of the Jets because it was a very difficult day for our brand new quarterback. It worked 4 interceptions. So we won't spend any time. Of course, Bob and I have experienced many of those types of games when he was my head trainer and I was playing, and we can kind of talk about that. But we know what that's like to start a game, start a season off with a loss like that. So.
Oh, I understand completely, Dad. I understand completely. They did play your Patriots too, so I don't. Never goes well for some reason.
So we can change the topic and move on. So
yeah, I will just say this: that I will pray for the quarterback because it's not easy to throw some interceptions over there in New York.
Yes, I know.
But it's okay. The Giants don't go so hot either. Well, unless my Dookie Daniel Jones picks it up. But yeah, Dad, football's rolling, basketball's picking up. The NBA is sending people back to training camp, so they're about to start up soon again. I feel like they just finished. But basketball is picking up. First day of practice for NCAA basketball is picking up as well. So pretty soon now, like we always say, we're headed steamhead into some sports. It's going to be an exciting year. Talk about some fun stuff, I think. But Few things. We don't know what our show for next week or the end of this week for Friday, the huddle at 10:04 a.m. Eastern is yet, but I will surprise you all soon enough with who our guest is going to be and what the topic is going to be. But then again, I hope to see everyone on Friday at 10:04 a.m. Eastern for the huddle. But Dad, give us a little rundown. We have a guest today. We have an important guest today. Talk to us a little about who it is and why we chose this guest for this special month.
Well, it is a special month. We, with Faith Family Focus, we use our stories to heal the family core. Part of that is we've talked about cancer. We've experienced that. We've talked about mental illness. We've talked about a lot of things. And the one thing I really wanted to touch on is recovery. And this, if you don't know, September is National Recovery Week and the Recovery Month. And I wanted to, when we actually sat down and we put down topics over a year ago, I did want to spend a couple of shows on talking about recovery, and this is the appropriate time. And I have an amazing friend, former trainer for the New York Jets, Buffalo Bills, Bob Reese, who, man, there's so much. I don't want to spend too much time talking about his accolades because we'll talk about that when he gets on the show. But I do remember the first time I met him. We were playing the Buffalo Bills, and there was this man screaming at me, calling me a cheap shot artist because I was beating up on Bobby Chandler and couldn't figure out who it was until the following year. I go into the training room and I have this brand new trainer called Bob Reese, and guess who was yelling at me on the sideline? It was Bob Reese, and we built a relationship from that point on. But Bob is a phenomenal person. He has over 25 years of long-term recovery, because obviously that's something that I can relate to. And I just thought I wanted to bring on guests that supporting what's happening this month with Americans, to reaffirm our commitment to helping those that are trying to overcome substance abuse, recovery, alcohol abuse. Bob has 2 amazing books, and this one I read a lot of it on the plane, Thriving in Recovery. And then he has another book here that we'll talk about, and that's Develop the Winner's Mentality.
Yep.
And both these books are amazing books, and I just felt it was a good person to bring on, not only just because of my relationship with him, but what's going on in our world with the stigma behind mental illness, the stigma behind, not talking about things like recovery. And of course, I just thought it was important to bring and have 2 really good guests. I have another special guest coming in on Monday that will also share his perspective on it. But so what I like to do, if you want to take a break, or we take a break and then we'll bring on a nice video of Bob for about 3 minutes, and then we'll bring this amazing man on the show.
Yep. Awesome. That's a reminder. The huddle is every Friday, 10:04 a.m. Eastern. And so let's get our full video to introduce everybody to Bob. Okay.
Let's just start with you introducing yourself.
Hi, I'm Bob. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've been sober for over 23 years. But who's counting? By the time I reached my 40s, I was a functional drunk. I was holding down a high-profile job as the head athletic trainer for an NFL football team. And the NFL was, especially at that time during the 70s and 80s and early 90s, very much a drinking culture. I began to have blackouts. I wouldn't remember going to bed. I tried quitting several times, but I always started back again, and I could no longer function. I had an embarrassing moment at a convention, and I had the opportunity to either go to rehab or be fired from my job. So So I spent 2 months in rehab. It was very difficult. The next year, the first year in recovery, was the hardest thing I ever did in my life. I didn't realize how low on a scale of 1 to 10 I really was until I found out what a real 10 on a 10-point scale meant. I'm Bob Reese. I'm an associate professor of psychology and director of the health psychology program at Jefferson College of Health Sciences. I'm a member of the research team of the International Quit and Recovery Registry as part of the Virginia Tech Carillion Research Institute. We're calling you, as a person in recovery, to help us help others. We need your stories of triumph. We need your knowledge so that we can spread it out to others. Join quitandrecovery.org.
Wonderful. Love that. Okay.
And without further ado, let's bring on our great guest, Bob Reese.
Good morning, Bob.
Here he is. That was amazing. It sent chills through my body, and it just resonates so much to me. And I really appreciate you. Welcome to Faith Family Focus.
Thank you very much. I'm proud to be here. Honored.
Yeah, Bob, so before we dive into everything wonderful, can you give me a story, your favorite Schaefer Suggs story? Because I love to do this with all of our guests so I can get kind of an inside scoop. Because what I'm learning is, since we started this show about 1.5 years ago, is that there's a lot of things I don't know about my father. I hear a funny story every single guest, I believe. So what is your Schaefer Suggs story?
Well, my first memory, as Schaefer has already shared, was him. He was a fierce hitter as a safety and a corner. And that's why he got moved to safety, I think, because he could hit so well. They might run him out of the league these days, the way he used to hit. But Bobby Chandler was one of my guys that I took care of, and he's a little guy. He was a great receiver, he had great hands, and he was insanely fearless and would go across the middle and catch the football. And your dad had the ability to time his hits. So I was yelling at him, "You cheap shot," And so when I got to the Jets, I guess that was the next year, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, the next year, I was the assistant athletic trainer at the Bills, and I spent 5 years there. And so then I was the head trainer for the Jets, and so that was how we got to know each other in person. I reminded him, or he reminded me, I can't remember. I don't think he knew it was me initially that was yelling at him. But the first, beyond that, the first thing I remember about your dad was we used to go through this whole big, with our physicals and stuff, we used to go through this thing where we would get the body fat. That was a new thing back then, and we had a therapy pool at the Jets, and these guys would come in and they would take measurements, and then we would weigh them, and then we'd put them in the pool and weigh them in the water to get to determine their body fat. They would go through all these calculations, and your dad had about 2% body fat, and that's beyond fine. Okay, I mean, not only was he ripped, but he was. You could almost see the muscles through his skin, and the doctors were concerned that he didn't have enough fat. That he's gonna get hurt because he doesn't have enough fat, or he's going to dehydrate, or whatever. So that was, I had to put this flag up in my head. I got to keep an eye on this guy out on the field because he's all muscle. But other than that, I don't really have any great stories other than I admired him as a player and his dedication. And, instead of calling him a vicious hitter, now that I was on his sidelines, I would say, way to hit him. Way to hit him, Schaefer.
So much makes sense, Dad. I love the body fat story because how we measure body fat has changed so much throughout the years. And it's funny that they used to get in that pool and try to do the calculations that way.
Yeah,
Now,
it was a little overkill at the time.
It was.
It was new, though. It's new. That's funny. Well, he did tell us that story. He told it was 1.5%. So I'm seeing now that it was a little different. But it's okay, Dad. You always, express your stories a little larger.
Well, it may have been the next year.
It actually was lower than that. It was actually under 1%.
That's not, I don't know.
But people, no one could believe it. I mean, I still have I remember the strength and conditioning coach we had at that time. It was a little guy. I can't remember what it was, but I did. I was, if you remember, Bob, I was hurt a lot my first couple of years, and I attribute that, not the fact that I was also overly aggressive, but I had to realize I didn't have to be on every tackle, and I think by my third year, I think Walton took over, and I remember you said to me, "You know what, Shape, you got to stay healthy, because you can't be in the training room this year." So I think with a combination of me, just maturing in that part of my body, and not that I added more body fat, but I just got smarter the way I played. And,
yeah, well, I think that comes with the territory.
Right.
You learn as you go. That ability to kind of pace yourself and understand things. That's one of the things we can talk about later that I thought I could bring to other pro teams after I got fired from the Jets years later. But teaching the rookies how they can pace themselves so they're not worn out by the time the regular season gets there. Because when rookies are playing a game every day at practice, and and they've got to learn. The vets know how to pace themselves. Yeah. When they're up, they're on. Mm-hmm. When they're not, they relax.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you did that. You had a shoulder injury or something early on.
Yeah, I got in that car accident coming to training camp, and my whole second year was just full of injuries. But then my third year, I think my third year was my first full year where I actually, and I remember that conversation you had with me. I mean, those are injuries that I couldn't help, but I just got smarter, those are things that you probably don't remember, but as a trainer, I mean, both you and Pepper, Pepper's been on the show, were just really not just good trainers, but you really mentored us. Pepper was new to the league, and I saw your relationship and just learning how to navigate through a lot of not just the on the field stuff, a lot of the off the field stuff, and as we pivot into our topic, we can kind of relate. But the question I wanted to ask you is, I read your book, most of the book. I mean, I was able to bounce around. It was just amazing. It just brought me right back home to that 76 to 81 years, and a lot of the stuff that a lot of people couldn't see, I was right in the middle of it. And just knowing that, later on, I struggled with with my issue, and I was able to be blessed with recovery. But through the lens, could you share? We were in the same workplace. What was it like to get to a place of recovery?
Oh, well, for me, of course, I went a long time after you were gone before I got into recovery. Uh, and what got me mostly in trouble was the fact that I could drink a lot. And I could hold, I guess what you'd call hold your liquor. And so I drank a lot when I drank. And I'll have to say, I think I share in the book that I got into daily drinking in Buffalo.
Yeah.
At night, you drink, and because Buffalo has miserable weather.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is. It's always overcast. I mean, it's not so much that it's that the snow. I can deal with the snow and that, but it was always overcast. They call it the lake effect because Buffalo sits between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, and so unless the wind is coming up from the due south, it's picking up moisture, and it makes it overcast. So you get a little burned through in the afternoon, about 3 or 4 in the afternoon. They'd call that a sunny day in Buffalo. And so you just, especially without the season on, there wasn't a lot to do. Buffalo was proud of the fact that they had more bars per capita than any other major metropolitan area. I don't know if they still tout that, but at the time, that was, in retrospect, I can see why. But as some of the players used to say, Pat Leahy, you remember Pat, our kicker, Leahy used to say, we drink to celebrate, we drink to mourn our losses. We drink. And that's pretty much what I did. And I had coaches I drank with, I had players I drank with, and if nobody was around, I drank with myself, So getting recovery was really, it took a knock in my face. As the video alluded to, I got in a fight at a convention. Believe it or not, Faith, I was defending women in the training room. I had some young trainer telling me that women shouldn't be in the training room as athletic trainers, and I'm going, that's stupid, and I had too much to drink, and apparently I popped in one. I don't remember it. I still don't remember it. But as Schaefer knows in the NFL, it doesn't take long for you to do something bad for it to get around. I'm sure you knew that at Duke.
Yeah.
If a Duke athlete did something, the coaches found out about it, if not the next day, within the week.
Yeah.
And so that put me in the position that, they gave me. I was very fortunate. We had Dick Steinberg at that time had come from the Patriots. It was our general manager. And he called me into his office and said, look, we've heard this. There was a problem at this convention. And I said, yeah. And so I told him, and he said, well, look, I don't want to lose you. He said, because I've been in this league a long time, and you are the best athletic trainer that I've been around that can predict when guys are going to be able to play well again. And I don't want to lose you. So we're going to send you out and you're going to get evaluated. This was in January. So the season was over. Season was always over in January for the Jets.
You're right. Yeah.
But at least when I was there, 20 years, I think we may have played a couple of times in January. But anyway, it was, I was fortunate. And one of the things that hit me is that initially I thought, well, I'm the guy that sends the players to rehab. So I know how this deal works. I said, so I'll go and I'll do outpatient stuff. And and I went out and I got evaluated and they said, we're going to bring you in for inpatient. And I don't know, that didn't work well. And so I was in, and as we're closing in on the fourth week in rehab, they said, we're going to keep you another month. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is not cool. And so that second month was extremely valuable to me. I mean, before then I had come to realize I'm an alcoholic. But the second month was, I came to realize I didn't have control, and that was a big thing for me, because I always thought I was in control and I could do it, and that second month I did a lot of self-reflecting and so forth. They used to have us at that time. We filled out one of those little composition books. You're supposed to write your drunkalogue in there. You can see from my book, Schaefer, how thick mine was. So a lot of it I took from that book. I filled out 3 of them.
Yeah.
So it was, that was the big thing for me, getting through that. Now then, coming back to work was initially not a problem, because Bruce Coslet was the head coach then. He called me into his office, and I'm expecting him to tell me, oh, you're in, one false move and you're gone, buddy. And he said, look, I've had a lot of my friends going to rehab and stuff. He said, I'm not going to ask you how you're doing, but if you got a problem, you let me know, and then we'll go from there. And so that part of it was, the working relationship was very good for the next 5 years. And I think I may have mentioned on the phone the other day, Schaefer, one of the biggest things that I had to overcome was the first time I went out socially, as a member of the Jets. We went to the highlight film opening. They used to have Faith. They would have them downtown in Manhattan at one of the famous restaurants, like this one was at Gallagher's, and they would rent the top floor or something, and they have the press in and show it, and players would come in, and everybody would mingle and talk and do all that. And of course there was an open bar, and the biggest trouble I had was I was sitting there and I was like somebody that's afraid to fly. I was white knuckling it on the chair, and because all the players were coming by saying, oh, Reese, can I get you a beer? Can I get you a drink? And I'm going, because they didn't know I'd been in rehab. And I'm not drinking. So finally I got up and got just a tonic and lime so that people would quit asking me. And I shared, when I got the drink in my hand, the whole compulsion to get a drink just went from a 10 down to about a 2, and that was, I learned that early on. So whenever I was went somewhere socially, I would grab a soda or something and have something in my hand, and it made a big difference. But that first year, well, that was the toughest thing I ever did because I was such an habitual drinker. You know, I can remember one time in rehab we had a men's meeting. So all the guys, there's about 30 guys around in a big circle, and guys are all talking about, you know, how can I pick up a girl if I don't, if I don't have a drink? And so they're talking, and I'm going, oh, this doesn't make it. And I finally said, how the hell can I grill a hamburger if I don't have a beer in my hand? And man, the room just got quiet because everybody started thinking, whoa, this is more about than just social stuff. And it was a big realization. It was hard. I was so fortunate that after about a year, it was about 12, 13 months, I lost the compulsion to drink. It wasn't, I didn't have it pushing on me all the time. You need a drink, you need a drink, you need a drink. And I was very lucky. And that was one of the reasons I wrote this book, because I have a brother who's also in recovery. He's 4 years younger than me. He beat me in recovery by 3 months. He's also in long-term recovery. But he still goes to like 3 or 4 AA meetings a week. I mean, he's still hanging on, you know. And I know we're not supposed to compare addictions, but he was a poly drug user, and he used to say he was notorious because he dealt in his what he was using, and it was a big. I kept trying to tell him there was more to life than AA, you know, that there's more there. So that was really the reason I wrote the book.
Yeah. My question to kind of spin off in between that is, as someone with a background in psychology, what can you share about people within AA, within recovery? Because you just said your journey was different than your brother's journey, right? Everybody's journey was different. With a background in psychology, talk to us a little bit about some of the things that help people thrive within recovery.
Well, that was something I came to recognize over time. I didn't get it. I went into rehab in 91, and I didn't start my master's in psychology till 94. And I didn't get my, then I got my master's, and then I actually had the teaching job at the Jefferson College of Health Sciences before I got my PhD. Okay. And so I got my PhD, I was 50 something at Virginia Tech. I got my, so the psychology of it is like so much of what's in the book, I looked at it after I had done it. So the psychology didn't help me early on. But my first book, the Develop the Winner's Mentality, was because I got interested in sports psychology, and I just boiled down what everybody in sports psychology was teaching, and I came up with what I call the 5 essential mental skills, and it's goal setting, visualization, energy management, which is stress management, and then excuse me, effective thinking and mental toughness. And today in positive psychology, they call the mental toughness grit.
Okay.
And so those are the things that that they were teaching or using in sports psychology at the time, and they still do. I mean, it's the bedrock. I'm sure, Faith, you've excuse me. I'm sure you got a lot of it, whether you realized it or not. And but the thing to me that helps is the learning how to think effectively. And so if you can get by that, and the simplest way to do that is with self-talk, positive self-talk. And it's not walking through the park with rose-colored glasses on, pretending everything's okay. It's how do you change? If you can change your talk, you can change how you think about things, which in turn changes how you behave.
Wow.
So one of the things, it's in there. It's actually in both books because it's so important. I took it out of the first book and put it in the second book. But one of the things that I stress to my students is the concept of self-talk and how important it is when you listen to somebody talk, when you listen to what they say, and so, for example, if I've got a student that says, "Yeah, well, I'm no good at doing this. I'm no good at writing. I'm no good at math." So we'll change that around. You can be good at it. You may not even want to be good at it, but that's beside the point. You don't have to say you're bad at it. So that's not one of my strengths. And the way to do that is with a little rubber band around your wrist, and you snap it.
Yeah.
And that's I learned that at a sports psychology conference, and that was way back. Oh God, I can't even remember. In the mid '90s, at the University of Virginia, and the idea is the best thing I can do is give you an example of like a golfer who hits a bad shot, and if they're not, even if they are a pro, a lot of times they'll start beating themselves up. Oh God, I'm terrible. I'm awful. I'm going to lose the thing. You snap the rubber band. Say that's not me. I'm not like that anymore. This next shot is the most important shot, and I'm going to hit it great. Now maybe you don't, but you've got to have that attitude, or you just kind of keep going down the hill. And I used to say with golfers that I had a guy that was a 10 handicap. He wanted to win his local tournament, and he kept saying, "Well, I'm a 10 handicap. I'm a 10 handicap." And so I asked him what would happen. He'd say, "Well, I play the front nine great, and then I kind of blow up, and then and then I turn it back on." And I said, "Well, why? Do you ever start off poorly?" He said, "Yeah, but then I recover, and I'm a 10 handicap." And I said, "Well, change your self-talk to say I'm a 6 handicap." He said, "But I'm not." And I'm saying, "No, you're not yet, but that's where you want to be, and you have to say this as if it's happened." And that's the hard part of it. But it's a tough. It's a good discipline. If you can learn to monitor your self-talk, you can. I tell students you can't make things happen, but you can certainly help cause them to happen.
Right.
And I'm, with you being as successful uh, basketball player faith, and I know Schaefer's been there. If you look at that book, you'll say, "Oh, I did this. I do this. Because you do. There's and now it's kind of the coaches have embedded a lot of this stuff in what they teach too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you guys turned on the switch, and I used to have when I did corporate work, I used to have a mentor that said, "Bob, they asked for a drink of water, and he turned on the fire hose." So where were we?
Yeah. Well, I think actually I've heard the rubber band tactic. My major actually in college was psychology, and I took a bunch of classes from here to there. And one of the biggest things was I took a class regarding addiction and recovery, and we spent some time within rehabilitation centers around North Carolina, and a lot of it was seeing the process throughout rehab turning from the center's control to the person's control the longer they were there and the longer time. How does, as humans, it's hard for us a lot to face self-discipline and to have that self-conversation. For you and for a lot of the stories you've come across and people you've come across regarding recovery, how did developing the winner's mentality kind of aid in this process?
Well, because you're constantly, if you adopt it, you're constantly being positive. And I hesitate to use thinking positive because positive thinking has limits. Okay, people can carry it too far. All the self-help gurus and so forth, a lot of them carry it way too far, And but you need to have that as part of your base of being able to think positively. I mean, sometimes things don't go well, and you can't pretend they don't. So you have to recognize that things aren't always going to go my way,
Right.
and that's one of the reasons I got involved with positive psychology, which is the Thriving in Recovery book. The whole back part of it is all about the things from the interventions you can use from positive psychology to help you, and so it's the positive psychology says that you want to be able to work toward things in a positive attitude. And Marty Seligman, the kind of the father of positive psychology, has done a lot of work with the Army because one of the things that you learn with positive psychology is resilience. Mm. And having that, being able to come back from something that's a defeat, that you haven't done well, or a mistake you've made. How do you come back from that? And I think Schaefer would probably agree with me that as people in recovery, former addicts, we can beat ourselves up better than anybody else can. I know that's my case. I can certainly beat myself up, and it's being able to take it and do something with it on a positive light, and that's the essence of what the Thriving in Recovery is about.
Yeah. Well, one thing I see a lot is within athletics and within sports, a lot of this self-discipline and positive thinking and positive psychology comes along with, a lot of the things we deal with as athletes, which is, the belittling of oneself, the disappointment in oneself, or a lot of people use the preparation for failure before you've even failed. And the people use that as a way to kind of prepare themselves so they're not let down, and then they're eventually, disappointed if they do fail, and then surprised if they achieve something. And it's interesting seeing the parallels between recovery and the road to redemption, road process for a lot of athletes. And Dad, as an athlete and a former athlete, and then Bob, you can touch on this as well. We talk about the 13th step. Dad, in your process, being an athlete, do you feel that it helped you a lot through recovery, through those steps?
Oh, without a doubt. I talked to Bob a little bit about it is not the quantity of recovery, it's the quality of recovery. And for me, and Bob, we're going to have you on the show again on next Monday. Because there's so much more of it that kind of fills in that gap is my relationship with my higher power, spirituality. And Bob touched on that a little bit in his book, with what a lot of people struggle with in the beginning of recovery, their higher power. And that's our slogan: let go, let God. Let go, let go, let faith. For me, was the most important part of my initial part of my thriving in recovery is my relationship with God and my ability to thrive. And that has allowed me to, they talk about the onion peels as years progress, come off your eye and eventually get to a point where Bob knows about the promises that we can actually talk about. And there's just so much. And I can't really, there's not enough time frame to really answer that question. That's why I would love to continue this next week, Bob. If you don't mind coming back on Monday, that's a possibility, because there's so much more here, Faith, that we can talk about.
Yeah, I can come back.
Good.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, because I would love to dive in eventually, because we walk through the steps and the psychological background through recovery, but also on when people battle that hope and optimism piece. I mean, that to me is something that I always find extremely brave and courageous. But Bob, thank you for joining us so much this morning.
I got to say one more thing. I'm going to
I think you just went out. Yeah, I think you just went out, Bob. Okay, hold on. Yeah, now you're muted. It happens to us all.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say gratitude.
Yes.
Gratitude gives you the optimism.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Got to write that down for next Monday.
Because on Monday, we still have the month of September, and I wanted to have another show on Monday. Maybe we bring another guest along with you, but go ahead and wrap it up, Faith. This is awesome stuff. Stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Bob. We're excited to see you again, of course, and I know our viewers are very thankful for your story as well.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Happy Monday. Don't forget it's Monday. I know we're all feeling like the weekend couldn't be long enough. Good morning, everyone who's tuning in slowly. Once again, you can rerun the show multiple times on Facebook, E360 TV, YouTube, and all the platforms we use. Thank you to Amazon Fire, YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Apple TV, and of course our key platform out of Phoenix, Arizona, E360 TV. Again, this is Faith Family Focus. We're going to use our faith as a vehicle to help heal and sustain others on strengthening their own family core. And of course, our slogan:
let go, let God, let go, let faith, and let go, let love.
We'll see you guys on Friday for the huddle. New live show, special guests. Keep your eyes on Facebook and your eyes on Twitter and your eyes on Facebook, because we have all the promos coming soon.